Virgin Holidays have decided to end their relationship with SeaWorld and Discovery Cove and other similar marine attractions.
Well, should other tour operators now do the same? How do you feel about all of this? We've got marine animal trainer Gray Stafford. He's worked at SeaWorld in the USA and he says definitely not. And he joins us now from Arizona. Gray, you think you're getting a tough billing on this one? I mean, in what way do you think, organisations like SeaWorld are justified in doing what they do?
Well, first of all, here in the United States, about 3/4 of the dolphins that live in zoos and aquariums were actually born in human care. We have multiple generations of animals that are successfully being reared in zoos like SeaWorld, and they live as long or longer than their wild counterparts. And we know the science and polling also shows that when you have these interactions with people, with dolphins, we don't use the word trick because that implies we're deceiving the animals. In fact, what we're doing is we're building relationships of trust using positive reinforcement. So we encourage the animals to engage in certain types of behaviors that display their natural abilities, behaviors that allow us to take better care of them, like drawing blood from their tail flukes or collecting blowhole samples from their exhalation. These are ways that we can take care of the animals better, monitor, and learn basic science about these creatures. And in fact, most of what we know about their physiology, their behavior, and their cognitive abilities have come from places like SeaWorld.
So, Doctor, from what I'm picking up for you, think it's okay to breed these animals in captivity, to keep them in these confinements? You see that massive whale and that small pool, and I know there'd be an exterior area as well, but you know what? It just doesn't look right to people in 2019. And here's Carys Bennett. She's also a doctor. She's a spokesperson for PETA, the animal rights organisation. You call SeaWorld, I think this is interesting, the most notorious marine abusement park as opposed to amusement park.
That's right, it is an abusement park, but we're delighted today that Virgin Holidays has made the right decision to stop selling tickets there, and it's the decision that the public want. 92% of the public that Virgin surveyed said they do not want to see animals in captivity. They'd prefer to see them in the wild in their natural habitat. These marine parks are places where majestic animals like orcas that would swim for hundreds of miles a day are kept in tiny concrete tanks. They are driven insane from boredom. All they can do is swim around in circles and perform tricks.
Well, Dr. Gray was saying there, basically, that seems to be okay because a lot of them are bred in captivity, therefore they know nothing else.
Breeding the animals in captivity can't justify this. The animals want to be free, just like wild animals. The dolphins at SeaWorld, there's over 100 dolphins, are forced to perform circus-style tricks. They're actually used as living surfboards with trainers standing on their faces, the most sensitive area of their body that they use for communication and behaviour. It's injustifiable.
Dr. Stafford, would you accept that maybe this is the last days of the empire as regards these amusement or abusement parks?
Well, after 40 years, I would hope that PETA and hundreds of millions of dollars that they've conned people out of donations, I would expect them to come up with some new material. The fact of the matter is that animals in human care, these cetaceans, are thriving. They live as long or longer than their wild counterparts. And in fact, much of what we understand about these animals, as well as the challenges they're facing in the wild, are due to the improvements, the conservation efforts, the veterinary efforts of places like SeaWorld. And I don't know how things are necessarily around the UK, but around the United States, we have unusual mortality events at every coastline. The Northeast, the Southeast, and the Gulf of Mexico, and along the Pacific coast, marine mammals are under serious threat due to pollution and all sorts of human activities. And it's places like SeaWorld and other accredited facilities that are working with wildlife researchers to better understand the problems.
So, Carys, they're doing good. They're saying it's conservation almost.
That's right.
Look, it doesn't matter how much conservation work they do when they are still holding hundreds of animals captive in tiny tanks. And this isn't just orcas and dolphins. It's also beluga whales, penguins, sea lions, so many animals. And they allow the public to touch them, to swim with them, to interact with them. The animals can't express their natural behaviour. They aren't allowed to stay with their families. Babies are taken away from their mothers. It just can't continue.
Do you get the impression?
I mean,
I would have gone out and brought my kids there in the 90s, and I look back and I'm ashamed that I did. Maybe I know much more, or that the public mood is changing. But people like Adriana, she says, we've visited these places. We had a wonderful time. We'll definitely visit again. James says these animals are well looked after. Stop selling tickets won't stop me for going. Mandy, I loved SeaWorld. It was a fabulous park. The shows are amazing. They may well be. No one's debating the shows aren't amazing, but
do you think people need to see beyond
what would you say to those people?
I mean, of course, people love whales and dolphins. I love them myself, but there's no educational value in seeing shows or seeing animals in captivity where the animals are miserable, they're bored, they're sometimes driven to psychological problems in their behaviour. We need to look at more education, better ways of doing things.
Guys, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you both.